At the very least, 2.3 million people played this opening error, which makes it the most common opening error of all. Hey, I'm Grandmaster Igor Smirnov, and today I want to share with you the way for you to stop playing this opening mistake yourself, and secondly, so that you know how to take advantage of your opponents playing it all wrong. Alright, so let's first get to some common opening position. For example, pawn e4, pawn e5, something like this, just the 4 knights game. And here's the first question. What do you think about the move bishop to c4? Is it a good move or a bad one, or just a normal average, developing move? What do you think? Well, since I'm asking, there must be a catch here, and you are right. In fact, in this position, the move bishop c4 is the most played move, is the top choice of white players. And it is wrong, although, funnily enough, most of players here playing black did not know how to take advantage of this. They played a symmetric move, in most cases bishop c5, which just gives black, an about equal game. But bishop c4 is actually wrong. It fails due to a common tactical pattern that, again, people so often overlook. Let me flip the board so that we see from the black perspective. And the tactical pattern here is the move knight takes e4, which gives up the knight just for a second, because after white recaptures it, you then play pawn d5, and thanks to this fork, you get your piece back right away, and you often get a quite noticeable advantage right after that. And the beauty of this combo is that it works in various different openings, not just in this position. You can use it as white or as black, just because this current setup is so common, right? As soon as your opponent has the knight here and the bishop here, you can always think of this combo. And it usually works. Again, you can use it for white, for black in different openings. So in this video, I want to share with you why it is so advantageous for black to go for it instead of just, playing normal development moves. And what are the different ways for white to try to react here and how you can get an advantage there. In most cases, your opponents will capture here, you're going to play pawn d5, and now your opponent is going to start thinking what to do about this threat, and the easiest solution to avoid just losing a piece seems to be capturing here on d5. And that is a wrong move, although it's the most played move here. Because after queen takes d5, you just get a completely dominant position. It's all that black can dream of in an opening. You took the center, you have the pawn, you have your queen here attacking this knight. You have two active bishops here controlling the entire board, and white just has nothing. So basically this is already a strategically winning position. For example, if white defends the knight, plays something like d3, and you just bring your bishop out here to g4, creating more and more problem for white, this pin. And if white develops somehow castles or develops their bishop, you also can castle queenside, because now your rook is also kind of active here along this d file. And again, you have such an easy game here. This pin is always annoying for white. You can play knight d4 and put more pressure onto this knight. You can play f5 and strike in the center, attack this knight over here on e4. So you have very simple attacking game here, and again, white has nothing. So for that reason, I said that black has already a strategically winning game right here. Now let's see what else your opponent can try doing here against you when you capture this pawn and unleash these little tactics. Knight takes e4, pawn d5. Again, your opponent starts thinking hard what to do and how to save material. One idea that your opponent may come up with is playing bishop b5. Removing this bishop from the danger, and after you capture the knight, white can now take advantage of this pin and play knight takes e5. And actually at first, it looks pretty cool for white, right? White is now taking advantage of the pin, attacking this knight twice, looks like white is attacking. But in reality, there is a way for you to counter-strike in a very effective way. These pieces, both minor pieces, are somewhat hanging. They're not defended sufficiently enough by white. Well, they're not defended at all, I gotta say, right? And you can take advantage of this. There are two common moves here for black to play. One is queen d5, just with a double attack of these two pieces, and this is good enough. That already gives you an advantage. But in this position, there is another move which is even stronger. Instead of a double attack, you can have a triple attack. Here after queen g5, not only you still attack both of these minor pieces, but you also hit this pawn on g2, and which makes it completely impossible for white to defend all three targets at once. I've just checked in the database what white players usually do here, and they usually go down very quickly. They take here at c6, you recapture, it still keeps this double threat. So if the knight captures here, now you take this pawn on g2, and now your queen is in the close proximity to white's king. It also hits this rook, and it is over. After the rook moves, you have actually a lot of ways to win the game. Really, any meaningful move wins. You can play bishop h3, for example, go after this rook. That would win. You can hit the rook from the other side, bishop a6. That would win as well. I guess the easiest is to play bishop g4, because now... Oh, sorry, this is the arrow. Because now the queen is captured. So you can capture white's queen, actually. Or white would have to play something like pawn f3, and then you just recapture with your bishop, and that is still completely over for white. The next one is my favorite. After you play this move, knight takes e4, starting these little tactics, some of your pawns will scratch their head a little bit, start calculating variations, will figure it out that after knight takes and pawn d5, they're gonna lose this bishop anyway, and so they'll think, hey, let me play this in-between move, bishop takes f7, and I'm gonna outsmart black. After king takes, I'm gonna take a piece back, and now just look at this exposed king. That's how I outsmarted black, who tried to use this tactical trick against me. But that is a completely wrong idea. That's the only drawback of this beautiful calculation. Because after you play pawn d5, once again, you just get everything you want. You took the center completely, you have these beautiful pawns, you have still two bishops, extremely active and easy development. And although white can give this one check, but that is just the single check and the attack is over. Your king is completely safe here, there is nothing white can do against it. On top of that, on top of all the other advantages you have, white is now also having some problems with these two knights, because they're somewhat hanging. You want to play pawn e4, for example, and hit this knight, and if that knight goes away, you're gonna pick up the other one. You can also play pawn h6 and drive this knight to the edge, so both knights are in trouble. For example, if white plays something like pawn d3 to stop at least this pawn from pushing forward to e6, then you can play h6. The only square for this knight to go to is on the edge of the board, knight h3. Once again, you can play bishop g4, put in this pin, which is unpleasant for white, and white is completely stuck and paralyzed. You know, white is also kind of worried about you taking here and breaking their pawn structure, especially if they want a castle. If not, what can they do? Also, this pin is annoying. You can always play knight d4, you know, or pawn e4 and attack this knight once again. I've checked the stats, and in most cases, according to the database, white played the move knight h to g1, which kind of indicates clearly that white's in trouble, because it took so long for white to relocate the knight from one bad square b1 to the other bad square g1, like dancing all around. That is just insane. And you can just strike in the center and you win, e4. Once again, very simple. The knight can't move because of this pin, so I'll have to take, you recapture, still attacking the knight. In order to escape from this pin, white will need to trade the queens off, but that brings your rook to an open file. The knight is still attacked. It has to go back, because it has to also guard this rook to d1 checkmate, potentially. So the knight will have to go back, and after that, you can just go forward with knight b4 or knight d4, and there is no defense against knight takes c2. And it's not just a pawn. From here, you're going to fork the king and the rook, and white cannot defend it. So you're winning the game once again in a very simple way and just within several moves. So that's the beauty of this combo. You know, in many cases, you just got such an easy victory right after that. Is there any hope for white? Yes, there is. So let me show you the correct reaction for white, so that if somebody uses this trick against you, you know how to react. After black plays knight takes e4, white recaptures and black goes pawn d5, here's the key. You do not want to lose your bishop, because bishop is stronger than a knight overall, and especially in open positions. So you do want to lose your knight instead of a bishop. And for that reason, white has to play the bishop back to d3, letting the knight to be captured, and after that, white saves the bishop. And this gives white an approximately equal position, and that's how white should play. But luckily for you, most of your pawns are unaware of it, and they're gonna go in one of the wrong ways that we discussed previously. By the way, this is still not completely easy for white, because after, you know, bishop d6 and in the following moves, you can perhaps castle, and you can still play bishop g4, put in this pin. In some variations, you can maybe push f5 forward, so it's still not easy for white. White still gotta be careful, but objectively, the position is equal, and white can keep it equal with proper play. So that's how white should deal with it. As I mentioned previously, there are lots of different ways for you to take advantage of these tactics for either color. For example, here we just discussed how black can take advantage of this, but if you're playing white, let's say after knight c3, black goes bishop c5, one of the most common moves, that already enables these tactics. Knight takes c5, followed by pawn d4 is all the same stuff. So this is a tactical pattern, right? It works in various different positions. Let me take a couple moves back here. Another move which I sometimes use is a little bit tricky move, bishop e2 here, which develops a piece and is also kind of an awaiting move. You just wait for black to develop to a more active square, and they often do because you developed a bishop, so black wants to do the same. And if black plays bishop c5, once again we've got these two pieces standing here, which enables you to play knight takes c5. And after this knight takes and pawn d4, now black's position is really tough. You know, in most cases you're gonna win very soon after bishop takes, queen takes. Not only you hit this knight, but if it moves away, you're gonna capture this pawn and attack this rook. What more can you ask for? In fact, I've got another video over here where you can see the 6 best opening traps for white, and there I analyze this opening in greater details. Also, if you want to know how to improve a chess rapidly, you're always welcome to attend my free masterclass by clicking the link over there. Keep crushing it, and I'll talk to you soon.